we just decided to do a morning shooting this morning. So we're now about 10 minutes away from our metaphysical center in this beautiful little valley. I'm here with Jason Warwick.
Hi. It's gorgeous here.
Yeah, just before, while our team was setting up the cameras and microphones, Jason and I were talking a little bit about our topic today, potential topic. And what came up was this topic of abandonment and I guess rejection, being hurt, especially in the relationship context, right? So yeah, I guess what I can say is, for myself, it seems like I had played both the person who abandoner, and the abandonee, both. I actually felt the same, almost like the intensity was not different. And I remember the first, the relationship where I had to leave for whatever reason. It was very difficult to see myself at that point as someone who is abandoning the other person, who is hurting the other person, and believing that I was victimizer. I caused a lot of pain and suffering to others, and it was extremely difficult to really get into that feeling of being someone that leaves something really good behind and hurt someone that's really innocent. And actually, to be honest with you, I felt it was so intense for me that I almost felt at that point I couldn't really bear to face that feeling. I actually secretly prayed that I would never want to play that role again. I would rather be the other side, be the abandonee, so that I don't have to face this intense
Guilt.
feeling of a leaver, and didn't really know why at that point. It was so difficult to even face that. But then, I had the opportunity to play the other role out too. Didn't really feel that it was my choice either. But when that happened, of course, I mean, the gift that I saw in the second, the following relationship, where I was the one who stayed and who wanted to stay, was that by the other person leaving, it brought up stuff that I would never be able to face. I would never be able to face by myself. I would never be able to encounter or embrace just by saying, okay, I'm gonna allow this feeling to come up and face it. I would never be able to do that. It almost like it has to have that element of the other person play that part, and for me to believing in that I was a victim, and that wasn't my choice, and I was abandoned and rejected. And it was just very intense as well. But because I had the previous experience, I couldn't help but comparing that a lot. Like just was amazed at the sameness of the feeling. Actually, experiential-wise, it wasn't different, but I could call it different. Different roles that I was playing, different thoughts, and different. I can say I leave some people behind. I couldn't bear my own, or being a bad person. That seems to be the thought, and then the other role was being hurt and rejected and faced the unworthiness and abandonment thought. So I guess that we can just start here and see where we're going from here. But that's my experience. And I know that just even talking about it in hindsight is much easier because, for one, I'm not overwhelmed by that emotion. It's not really present, and also it's always a bigger perspective. You can see what that is for, really, but in the moment it's hard.
Well, that's what it is for me right now. It feels kind of fresh. Like when you were talking about abandoner and abandonee, I couldn't really relate actually to being either one because I don't know which one I am, but the feeling is there, almost like my whole life has been designed to keep this feeling at bay. I had an experience the other day at a gathering where I was talking and the Spirit was just pouring through and there was a strength, and then this beautiful girl came in to the room and sat down, and then I saw this thought: if you keep speaking like this, you're going to lose her, or you'll have no chance, or something. And then it's like I became something else, like a concept or a self-concept. And then it was a person, and then how you relate to the different people. But the message was gone. And I was like, wow, okay. Help, Holy Spirit. And then I just would get back into that strength again and just kind of let it pour through. And then she disappeared out of awareness, just like all the other people, and it just became this channel. But I've just seen in my life more and more recently how much I've compromised with mostly women, like whether it's the mother character or girlfriends or whatever, to become something where you're either helping or, more recently, being helped. But either one cuts me off from source because it's time to let the roles go. And it feels like I'm losing people and friends, and even having to make a firm commitment not to engage, because it could be from past conditioning, and just spend all my time actually, okay, Holy Spirit, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? Shine through me, get the strength.
Yeah.
Because it's like a life thing. I can't afford to get into that identity.
Yeah.
It's life or death.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. 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 What I see is, it's like we come to see that, doesn't really matter which role you play. It's actually the same in essence. Helper or helpee. Is there a word? Helpee.
Yeah, sure.
Abandoner, abandonee.
I don't even know if they're words.
It's like the same. Eventually, you don't even. The only difference, I think, is in the mind thinking. One is something that you do out of your choice. For example, in terms of the leaver or the levee, one is you think you did it out of the choice. The other one is powerless. You're done too. And there's some.
Well, actually, I'd like to say, when I was seemingly having to pull out, and I would be but I felt like a victim of the Holy Spirit in terms of not being able to choose. So I still felt that with being the levee, so to speak.
Right.
It's interesting.
But I get it, what you mean. It's not like a decision of the person, it's more like a decision of the Holy Spirit. The Spirit is taking something from you, or asks you to do something that is not your will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could when I trusted it finally, then it was like, okay, I can embrace this. But even then all of these thoughts flushed up, like I'm abandoning or letting her down, or after all she's done for me, Yeah, continue on there.
I was just trying to say that just once, even when you said at the beginning that you didn't really know which part you were playing, it's almost like you get into this experience. It's almost like there is no choice of your own. So you don't really know whether you're leaving or you're left, because it's just happening.
Yeah, that's it. That's what Yeah.
Yeah, it's not your choice. You come to that experience of it's not me that is walking out of the situation. I don't know whether the situation walked out of me or, you know what I mean? And that's like, it's actually great because you don't spend any energy in thinking I could have done anything different.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
That's the freedom, but until then, as long as you believe you have a choice that you can say yes or no or whatever, then that's the hell actually.
Yeah.
Because then you believe you're
But what I'm saying is like when you realize that point that you don't have a choice, so I'm not this or that, but it's what's happening, then you can just settle your mind. Okay, I don't have to play in my mind different scenarios to avoid this, what is coming up, but just I have no choice. So, but to allow this to come up, you know, it's easier to be present.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Really allow that.
You can't not make it happen, and you can't make it happen.
No.
It's the no control. That's where the freedom is.
It is. It is the freedom.
Yeah, I'd like to share kind of a powerful story that's on this topic, because I met this guy on the plane a few days ago, and I don't know how, but before we were even on takeoff, he started talking to me about this girl that he was really in love with, but she kept saying things each time, like, I don't know if I'm want to be in a relationship, or I'm ready to date other guys. And each time he would say something like, I'm not okay with that. But then he'd be like, okay, what serves the whole, or what, I got to honor what it is you're requesting. And so he would like step back, you know, and then all of these emotions would come up. And then I said at one point, I said, look, can I be real direct with you? I've only met the guy for like 5 minutes. And I said, he's like, please, please, which you could tell was just a Holy Spirit connection. And I said, I think you've made a deep call to let abandonment up into your awareness. And she is just there perfectly to help you see those emotions and play that role so you can get in touch with it. And he just looked at me and he's like, no one's ever said that to me, but you're exactly right. And so we just launched into all of this psychology and different things, and I could tell it was all for me, because then later on, you know, he was going to this festival in Chicago, and in between his getting drunk at the festival, he would go online and check out Abandonment, you know, because he's like, it affected him so much. So he actually found this blog page, and he said that there's 7 signs of whether you're going through abandoned or not. And he told me, because I met him in the airport on the way back to Utah just yesterday. And so he told me what he had found and sent me the blog, and he said, and I relate to all 7 signs. And he said the first one is, just remember, you know, it's not, you didn't choose this. Which I took to make it's involuntary, meaning these deep things like abandonment. They said that everyone faces it, so don't be ashamed of your weakness. It's just what needs to move through the mind, and it's the whole human condition. Like we're all trying to cover over this deep abandonment, so we're grabbing each other, like, you know, don't leave me. Come here, or keep the parents, or keep the children. You know, empty nest syndrome, they call it in English. Like all of these things to keep abandonment at bay. But when you go for it, it just feels so raw, because it was a much deeper letting go. It was a letting go of an identity that wanted to help or be helped, and then to stay in the confidence of, I've done nothing wrong, I'm not wrong. Right. That's what had to be faced. And that's why all our talks that week were all about, there's no wrongness, like let it wash through, it's not personal. Right. And because there's just this hurt of being abandoned, you know, that's coming up, and for me when it comes up, it's almost like I'm so confused of whether it's actually abandonment or love, to be honest. Like it's almost like one side of it is loss, but the other side of it is like, thank you, you know, like thank you, like there's just this giant love pushing out. I love it. And one interpretation is lost, and the other one is, oh, I'm so alive, I'm not going to be here long. This is like,
I know.
The world's disappearing, you know?
I know. And Oh, I love this because that's really why withdraw conclusions. It's so crucial. Like if we have the conclusion that this is abandonment and this is really bad,
And it's not.
and then we try to get rid of it and fix it. But
No.
if it's like I don't even know what this is, maybe just overwhelming love that I am not familiar. I have never let up yet, and just really dive into the experience and see what that is about.
Yeah.
Just treat it as an unknown, something that's coming up, unknown,
Yeah.
and really experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I love that. Like that applies to absolutely everything. Even we talked about wrongness the other day, and when that wrongness come up, to be honest, we don't know whether it is wrongness or it's really the innocence that we have never experienced that comes up.
I know. It's so trippy.
Yeah.
You literally can't label anything anymore.
No. And that I just relate to that so much because I know that a period of time where I had the most mystical experience is exactly that time that I felt I was really diving into that experience of so-called abandonment. And
This is what's happening to me. This last week, I'll just be sitting with somebody, like in Chicago in a restaurant, and it's like a nausea was moving through. But if I just stayed with it, I would end up in these like mystical experiences where I didn't know what was going on, and I'm about to do a talk, and then all this emotion pours through, and so much love. I mean, to me, that's mystical because I don't understand it, you know.
yeah.
But it feels so alive and raw.
Yeah. That's why, like, something you can't really say it's good or bad, because when I just remember that period when I was experiencing so much abandonment and there was nowhere I could avoid it. I had to be with it. And that was the time, this mystical experience, I lost myself. I saw the end of time. I saw everything was finished and done. And it was just like one after the next. And I was thinking, this is amazing, and really, if you see it that way, what is abandonment except part of our mind cannot understand and want to define.
Call it something.
And control it, yeah. So I guess our conclusion is there is no abandonment. That's our
As
conclusion.
the sun
is
comes
rising.
up.
Yeah,
The sun just rose
as we talk about it. I love it because I know that when I first entered a relationship with David, I was sharing with him one thing that I am afraid of the most in my life is abandonment, being abandoned or having to face that. And he said, well, okay, you will see the impossibility of abandonment in this relationship. And I thought, wow, that's worthwhile if one relationship is going to undo the belief in abandonment.
And it did.
And then it did. That's like amazing.
Like you guys seemed to go away for a while where you went to Spain and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your mind, you're like, maybe even I'm done
Right.
with that. But then he came down to Mexico and he's like, so you want to travel together and be in the inspiration? And it's like,
Yeah.
Right there, nothing had
and
changed.
you see, as I actually saw the mind just wanted to name it and put it in a box, and it didn't want the box to be stretched but in the end, when it's letting go, it's really letting go of the box. It's really not letting go of the love, So when there is no box and the love is still there, like the connection and collaboration is still there, there is no box, and it's amazing. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pure, clean.
Right.
Which is what this tour to Europe is going to be, I think, in South Africa. Like, there's you, David, Kirsten, and I, and Michael Caruana. None of us have interpersonal relationships anymore. There's no like hooks with each other or anything.
There's no stickiness. There is no box, and it's extremely clean and extremely telepathic.
Extremely telepathic.
Yes.
We were talking about that.
Yes.
Just the message. Because when you don't have that, do you want something from me? Do I want something from you? Can I hurt you?
Right.
It's like, you can be telepathic, you can hear.
What is the best for the whole, it's just completely...
So I think that's the conclusion, if any, that I like the most about this whole thing, is that like abandonment is not real, not even really abandonment, but
It's a name,
it's
yeah.
like love or the mystic pouring through.
mystic, yeah, see it as a mystical experience, because if you haven't really allowed yourself to dive into it, then when it comes up, really see it as a mystical experience, and be so open to see. Do not assume that you know how it feels like, what it is, and it's bad or good. Just dive into it. And if you really allow that, go to the other end, you will see there is nothing to fear, and there is no such thing as abandonment. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I guess also after really walking through that that experience, what I saw was that spirit is behind everything. It was like this perfection of it all, and then the mind just shifted from a perspective of being a victim to this total gratitude and the vision, actually, to be able to see that how the spirit is behind everything. And when people even ask me, how did forgiveness happen, I say, I don't know, actually. It happened, and it happened by spirit. And spirit did everything, and there is nothing that is random. It's all to facilitate that final change of mind. Yeah.
It's like everything's going with it, like comparison, concern about others. All of that is kind of dissolving with this one thing.
Yeah. And I saw, actually, the only, like, when I was going through that experience, I will enter into this mystical phase, and suddenly, like, also a peaceful feeling, but I go back and forth, like total meltdown and heartbreak and sadness, or the mystical, like, extreme. But I saw that the only reason I would go back and forth is this desire to be a victim. It's really purely a desire to be a victim. If I can sum up with one sentence, there is no other reason I would go back except that I do not want to see that whatever is going on is my will. I just don't. I want to convince myself again and again by playing out this story to myself or others, saying, look what they did to me, But afterwards, it was just so clear. Why did I do that? The next minute, I could totally see how it's my will. I just like, wow, that's just this pure desire, actually, to be a victim. And to see that I'm not the totality. I have no power. I am so weak. Look at me. Yeah.
Even the idea that they said something to me apart from my
will. Yeah.
And then I have to deal with it.
It all comes down to that.
Yeah.
With everything. Even like you can think of any specific problem that you have, and you see whether that has some kind of victim, even not to a person, but to the world. I am experiencing something that is not my will. I'm powerless. Something is done to me, Yeah. Yeah. And it's powerful to see your desire in it. You can see maybe, yes, there is an involvement of some kind of victim element, but I don't want to be a victim. Just pause there, really see the desire to want to, reiterate all these stories to yourself and others. Yeah. That's all. We just need to see it. There's no other healing that you need to do on your own.
Yeah, I can feel I'm affected by that. I don't have any words. It's just beautiful.
I can tell you the power of seeing that is you never believe any story you tell yourself anymore. It's very, very simple. It's so easy to drop. You don't even need to express anymore, just like it's a victim story.